Here's Culley, who has spent the last 2 seasons in Baltimore with the Ravens. He was their passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. He's never been an offensive coordinator at the NFL level, but he does have 27 seasons of NFL experience as a coach. And so let us get Schefter into the conversation here. Let's start with this, Adam. What can you tell us about the hire?
Well, I think the Houston Texans, Greeny, were looking for somebody who projected a CEO type of image. And David Culley is a man who has been in the NFL since 1994, as you mentioned, never been as much as a coordinator, but he does have a command of a room. He does have the respect of his players, and he did work with Andy Reid for 16 seasons. And so we've seen the Sean McVay effect, and now we're seeing the Andy Reid effect on a lot of people other than Eric Bieniemy. So David Culley comes from being an underdog to becoming the head coach of the Houston Texans. And as you mentioned, the biggest challenge that he will face is trying to change the mind of Deshaun Watson. But even before David Culley was hired, Chris Mortensen was told, I was told, it would not make a difference who they hired. Deshaun Watson felt the way he did. His feelings would be unable to change. And again, they could have gone a lot of different directions here. They opted to go to David Culley, the Texans did. We'll see if that has any luck with Deshaun Watson. I'm skeptical that it will, but David Culley is going to have a big challenge on his hands cleaning up the mess that is in Houston with the Texans.
Right, and so let's pick it up right there, Schefter. This was the move that we were waiting to see. Clearly that nothing was going to happen as far as Deshaun was concerned until this decision got made. So now what happens? We assume Culley will meet with Deshaun and try and work that. What happens from here as far as Watson is concerned?
Well, you said we'll assume that David Culley meets with Deshaun Watson when, to my understanding, the organization has reached out to Deshaun and he has not responded to their communication. Now, maybe something's changed here in the couple of days that we don't know, but I don't think that they've been able to reach him, no less meet with him. And David Culley, you would hope and think, would ask for and try to get a meeting with Deshaun Watson. Again, I'll go back to saying I'm skeptical that will happen. So what will happen next is they'll see with their new head coach, with the staff they put together, and oh, by the way, there's a real chance that Josh McCown is going to be a part of this new coaching staff, the Texans having interviewed him for a head coaching job last week. But there's a chance that when they put together their staff, they're hoping that whatever they do is enough to help change the mind of Deshaun Watson. But as we've said all along, this was not about the coaching staff. This was not about the general manager that they hired in Nick Caserio. This was about the organization. This was about the owner, Cal McNair. And this was about a man who, in his own mind, I think, has moved on and now officially wants to move on.
Okay, and so there's the latest there, and that certainly does not sound optimistic in Houston. Neek and D. Wood join the conversation here. Neek, what's your reaction to all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that David Culley is going to try to listen to Deshaun Watson. I understand they have a relationship going back to their time at the Pro Bowl, so maybe Deshaun Watson answers the phone when he calls. But then what are you going to say? Because like Adam just said, Deshaun Watson's issue is with the organization and the owner. David Culley knows nothing about the organization. Who knows less about the organization than the guy who just got there? And I'm not sure what pitch David Culley's going to give him, considering the fact that Deshaun Watson is a quarterback who likes to throw the ball, and David Culley is coming from the Ravens, which the only thing they don't do well is throw the ball. So I'm not sure how this lands Deshaun Watson in any better situation there. So I think the organization probably needs to move on, and I know, as Adam said, Deshaun Watson has already moved on.
D. Wood, what do you think?
It's not going to make one damn difference. You know, everybody pretty much said the same thing. To me, Deshaun Watson seemed like a man of principle, you know, and that goes directly towards the interaction that he's had with ownership. There's nothing that David Culley can do, and I feel bad for David Culley going to the situation, albeit he chose to go with the Houston Texans. But this is an untenable situation for him. Right. Because like Dominic said, what can he possibly say at this moment in time to convince Deshaun Watson, hey, why don't you stay here? Although, ownership has shown its hand to you. There's nothing I can really do. So I don't know what he can say to convince him.
Go ahead, Schefter.
What's interesting here, and again, I still don't think it would have made a difference. If the Texans had hypothetically gone to Eric Bieniemy, who once again has been bypassed in another head coaching cycle. If they had gone to Eric Bieniemy, somebody that Deshaun Watson, I think, was in favor of the team hiring, might that have made a difference? I don't think so, but maybe he would have listened to Eric Bieniemy, somebody that he's got a tremendous amount of respect for. Had they gone to Jim Caldwell, I can think of this. Jim Caldwell is very, very close to Tony Dungy. Maybe the two of them would have sat down, and maybe they would have had some impact on Deshaun Watson. And no disrespect to David Culley, what is he bringing to the? Why is he going to change Deshaun Watson's mind?
Can I ask you a question, Adam? Can I ask you a question?
Because ask him the question you asked me in the meeting this morning.
The thing that comes to my mind is, for that situation, is this a job that people wanted? Because I imagine that David Culley got one interview this year. He's been in the league for a long time, and his name hasn't come up very often. No disrespect to him, but it wasn't like he was a highly coveted candidate. I imagine that they might have gone, and you know better than me, they might have gone after some of these bigger names, but then they looked at the organization and said, we have a quarterback who wants to get the hell out. We have a clergyman making the roster decisions, and we have an owner who it feels like the team doesn't trust. If I am Eric Bieniemy or Leslie Frazier or Todd Bowles, one of these coaches or Gerard Mayo, one of these coaches who look like they might have other options or might have a long time in this league, I look at that situation where there are no draft picks in the upcoming future. I look at that situation and Cal McNair calls me and says, hey, Eric Bieniemy, why don't you take this job? I say no. I'm going to wait for something that is a little less dire to show up. So I guess you would know better than me. The question there is, had they offered or did they have interest in other people in this situation and ended up with David Culley because maybe those people did not have as much interest in the Texans?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.